Hi everyone, I am Zach, and this is my webinar for the Heart of Nature, Exploring Emotions in the Natural World of Cape May and Beyond. Alright, so to introduce myself, I'm Zach. I live in Cape May County. My family also has a farm called the Philosophy Family Farm, and it's located in upstate New York. It was kind of farmed unsustainably for actually, believe it or not, 160 years. And the previous farmers, they would farm things like turkeys, cattle, pigs, um, and also some of the problems were social. No families remained on the farm for longer than like 2 decades or so. So that was a problem. And so what we're trying to do now is we're trying to learn how to make the farm more sustainable. And we're trying to take what we're learning at the farm about the land, about the ecosystems, and we're learning how to apply that knowledge to our local Cape May County community here, which is very exciting. So the most recent crop that was farmed on our farm was actually Christmas trees that are all still there. There are actually 18,000 of them, mostly Norway spruces, along with some blue spruces too, and some Scots pines. And it's interesting because you can see on the left there that's actually me, trimming the trees, and it's kind of me learning from the land and learning how to work with nature. But the problem still is that the trees, they're still what's called a monocrop, and a monocrop is just any crop where there's just one plant. It's just one crop. There's not a mixing of different kinds of crops together. And you can see there in the top right, that picture, that's an example of a monocrop. See how there's just one crop and there are many rows of them and there's no diversity. In the bottom right, you can see an example of a garden that has many different kinds of crops existing together. And it's a lot healthier. It's not as big, but it doesn't need to be because there's so many different kinds of plants that are providing so much for the environment. And so that's what we're trying to do with our Christmas trees. We're trying to incorporate different kinds of crops with them so that the environment can be healthier. So I'm a student, and I'm currently taking a course with the United Nations Earth Charter. And the Earth Charter is basically a document that's kind of a guide for sustainable development. And their motto is turning conscience into action. The Earth Charter's headquarters are in Costa Rica, as you can see there. The picture, that's their headquarters there. It's really beautiful. And for this webinar, I'm going to be focusing on the second principle in the Earth Charter document, which is caring for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. So I'd say that it's great to start with where we live. I love being in Cape May County. It's a really awesome place to be. There's incredible nature. People travel from all over the world just to see the amazing birds that are resident and also migrate here. On the Delaware Bay side, we have really cool critters like horseshoe crabs that are actually the oldest known species currently alive, which is really fascinating. And obviously nothing beats the history and culture of our area. And included in that is the great waves that we have. So yeah, I'm just very proud of where I live. I think that it's a really great place to start applying everything that I'm learning with the Earth Charter, so I can spread that message to the community. So you might be wondering, why are we focusing on emotions? Well, I'd say that when we talk about compassion and caring for the earth, like in the Earth Charter principle I mentioned, it's important to talk about our emotions because those are emotions themselves. They come from us. And all of nature feels emotions just like we as humans do. And I'd say that we're all connected. All of life is connected. All of nature is connected. We're all just one together. And we can be even more connected through the recognition of our emotions and honoring them. That bear footprint you saw on the previous slide was from our farm. And my family and I, we actually wrote a book about that bear, and it's called Inside Bear. And the book is all about our emotions that we feel. So I think that at this point it's kind of important to think about what emotions we share with nature. When you look at the picture on the right of the caterpillar on the Joe Pyeweed, um, those words listed there, those might be some feelings, some emotions that come to mind for you. They could be things that you yourself feel, or that the caterpillar might feel. It could be they could be feelings related to finding food, or finding a safe place to be, or even finding a warm sunny day. In Inside Bear, there's a part where he's ignored by the grown-ups in the room, and this makes him really angry. So how would you feel if you were ignored? So how do you think nature deals with being ignored and uses their emotions to do something positive with those feelings? Well, here are some examples from nature. In the top left there, that picture, that dragonfly, that's called a blue-faced meadowhawk, and it has really bright colors, so it can send a message that it doesn't taste good to potential predators. In the top middle there, that picture of those flowers, they're called Johnny Jump Ups, and they found a spot to grow right next to our stairs at our house. So they're kind of using every resource that they can to remind us to step around them. In the bottom left, you can see that's a sunflower, and it's telling pollinators and birds where to land for a food source. That's its way of kind of, using its feelings to get attention in a positive way. Um, the that bird right there with the red chest, that's called a rose-breasted grosbeak, and the male uses his red chest to attract a mate. And in the bottom right, that's a male wild turkey, and he's displaying for the hens, and he's showing them, how strong he is, and that's all in hopes that his genes can get passed along. So these are just some cool examples. How about when we make mistakes? Everyone makes mistakes. How do you feel when you make a mistake yourself? Maybe you feel sad or ashamed. How about nature? Nature also makes mistakes. I mean, how would we ever learn and grow without mistakes? Here are some neat examples. You see in the top left corner, that's a bottlenose dolphin in Australia. It's using a very interesting technique to catch fish, where its nose is actually inside a conch shell. And you know that must have started with a dolphin getting its nose stuck. So, believe it or not, now it's kind of a technique that dolphins actually teach other dolphins to more efficiently catch fish with their nose in a conch shell to catch the fish. Isn't that cool? Um, in the top right, you can see it's a horseshoe crab trail on a beach here in Lower Township. And you can see that the horseshoe crab looked like it was going in one direction, and it was kind of the wrong direction, but eventually found its way back into the bay. And in the middle there, you can see a bee with honeycomb. And in the wild, bees actually commonly make mistakes when they're building their honeycomb. But this is actually better for them because in this way they have more room to grow in a natural way. About peaceful emotions. How do you and nature feel peaceful? I took these pictures by the Delaware Bay and also at Coxhall Creek. And I also include a picture I took of my dog Denny, who is feeling very patient at the moment. You make friends with nature with value and compassion, just like the Earth Charter principle says. Well, one great way is actually through connecting with our emotions. So you can see on the left side of the slide, there are different photos that I have from nature in Lower Township and also around my house. At the top left, starting, is my cat Ava, who's kind of lounging happily. Next to her is a painted turtle. Below that is a ruddy turnstone bird on a jetty. Um, just below that to the left a little bit is a brown thrasher, another kind of bird that's hiding in some brush. Next to that is pebbles on the beach here in Lower Township too, um, followed by a stormy sunset to the bottom left, and a paper wasp nest, and a sunflower. So on the right side of the slide, you can see there are a whole bunch of emotions, connected, compassionate, proud, strong, playful, creative, skillful, confident, frightened, curious, humble, insecure, brave, important, and free. So for a fun activity, maybe sometime you could go out on a walk in nature and you can make a whole list of emotions that you feel and that you think nature might feel. And ask yourself, what's different and what's similar? Here's another great way to connect nature with emotions. So this is a picture of a red oak in our front yard. And believe it or not, the red oak is actually New Jersey's state tree. And just one oak tree is an entire ecosystem, not just for life, but for emotions as well. So as a fun activity, students or families can go outside and find an oak tree, which oak trees are all over Lower Township, so don't worry about finding one. And you can make a systems diagram of all of life around an oak tree and all the emotions that connect it all together. So on the next slide, I have some examples of how you can do this. For the activities, you can either go outside or inside, since both will work. And the activity on the left of this slide is great for younger kids, while the one on the right is great for older kids. So for the activity on the left, it goes like this. Draw a favorite tree on a large piece of paper. Copy these words onto small strips of paper. Everyone can take turns placing the words all around, in, above, and below the tree. Then, draw lines connecting the tree to the word on the paper, and any other word that interacts with that word too. Kids then can act out each item while feeling a certain emotion. And the other words around the tree, they're ones that you can start with in your activity. And they're all words representing things that are supported by or connected to the oak tree. For the activity on the right, it kind of begins with a circle in the middle. That's the oak tree, represents the oak tree. And all the circles around this middle circle with the oak tree, they represent all the different things that an oak tree can provide for its environment, starting with the more direct effects kind of closer to the middle, and these effects kind of lead to the broader effects which are kind of on the outside. So for example, an oak can directly support biodiversity for its environment, and then this kind of biodiversity, supporting of biodiversity can lead to, say, an increase in air and soil quality, since there might be more plants that are able to filter in the carbon dioxide in the air, and also they can fix nitrogen into the soil and just improve that soil and air quality too. So that's one example. And also there are these emotional connectors on the outside and in the inside too around each circle. And these emotions, they represent the feelings, the emotions that are with each effect, with each thing that the oak tree can provide, both directly and on a more broad scale. So yeah, you are absolutely free to try this activity out. You can use my examples with the emotions and the observations, or you can just draw your own blank circles that the kids can fill in themselves with their own observations and emotional connectors. When I think about the Earth Charter principle of caring for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love, I'm reminded of the Lenape prophecy of the Four Crows, and the story goes like this. Long ago, it was said that a fox will be loosened on the earth. Also, it was said, 4 crows will come. The first crow flew the way of harmony with the Creator. The second crow tried to clean the world, but he became sick and he died. The third crow saw his dead brother and he hid. The fourth crow flew the way of harmony again with the Creator. Caretakers, they will live together on the earth. So the question then becomes today, how do we work together today as the fourth crow to restore the land? And honestly, this is the question of my generation in the future of the planet that we all call home. So how do we work together as the fourth crow to restore the land? Well, I think you can start with activities that connect nature with emotions. Here are some I came up with, and you can try them as well. You can take iPhone photos of nature and label them with emotions that you see and feel. You can sit under a tree and have a conversation with the tree, and then see if both of you are feeling the same way. Sit and write everything that you are feeling. Then take a walk on the beach and find that emotion on the beach. Here's another idea. This is a fun activity and project that I had a great time making, and I call it making an orchestra of emotions. And this is basically creating instruments out of natural materials. It's a really fun activity for little kids. In fact, I had a great time playing these instruments and talking about emotions with the kids at the lower library story time. with all their respective emotions. You can see there in the top left, there's the grumpy emotion with the pinecone shakers. With the pinecone shakers, I just tied these pine cones together to make a good shaking sound when they're moved with the hand. For hurt and crying, I had a shopping bag filled with dried leaves that kids could shake. For angry, I collected some red firebush leaves so that kids could toss them into the air and roar. For sad, I rubbed a pine branch over a whelk shell to make a soft, sad sound. For scared, I had a bundle of dried dune grass that kids also could shake. For restless, there was a bundle of dried pine needles rubbed in a stick. For frustrated, kids shook a Tupperware container with red oak acorns inside. And for unsure and lonely there in the bottom right corner, I used a bundle of puffy dune grass for a soft, sensitive sound. Well, that about does it for the Heart of Nature webinar. Thank you so much, and have fun connecting emotions and nature in our community, and also applying care for the community of life with understanding, compassion, and love. Feel free to contact me at zach@philosophyfamilyfarm.com, and let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear from you.